8,
7,
6,
5, 4,
3, 2,
1.
Hello and welcome to Slooh. We are here live for today's 2019 Total Solar Eclipse in South America, the Great South American 2019 Total Solar Eclipse, live with Slooh. We'll be streaming this through all of the phases, partial, totality, and partial again with you till the very end. So get your cup of coffee, cold glass of water, get comfortable. If you're not able to be in the path live, that's why we're here streaming with you. The last total solar eclipse was about 2 years ago now, back in August of 2017. That was the transcontinental total solar eclipse, where roughly 10 or more million people were able to watch live because the path of totality went practically through their front yards. But today is a little bit different, as this path of totality covers only a very narrow stretch of South America, making landfall in Chile and Argentina. And with some possible poor forecasts for the weather in Argentina, we're really limited on where we can watch live from. So we hope that you're tuning in with us. And a couple quick fun reminders coming up. Welcome to the brand new Slooh. You may be noticing, if you're joining us for the first time in just a few weeks, that we have a total redesign of our website. We are completely launched with our brand new platform, which includes an entire suite of education tools for you to use in your K through 12 classroom or your university level curriculum. We have products and programs for every type of in-school and after-school activity, and you can reach out to us at education@slooh.com for further inquiries on that. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Today we're watching a total solar eclipse. We're going to have a bunch of special guests coming on today. We have all throughout the next couple hours special guests from all over the world who are watching either live in totality or watching on slooh.com with us. We're going to be talking about some really fun things, all the way from what it's like to watch in totality in the path at an eclipse viewing party, all the way to what maybe zoo animals are doing when they react to something like this, and what happened to a particular zoo in Nashville, Tennessee during the 2017 total solar eclipse. We have some updates on that and maybe what we can expect the animals in Chile and Argentina to be doing today. So if you are following on slooh.com, we have a bunch of live feeds set up for you tonight of the total solar eclipse from our partner observatories in Chile. And we're going to encourage you to snap a bunch of images, roughly one every 5 minutes, if you can possibly do that. We're looking at our first partner feed today from the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. I've practiced that a couple times. I'm pretty proud of where it's gotten. So this is our observatory partner. So if you're familiar with Slooh before this, then you'll know we have an observatory site of our very own at this Catholic University in Chile. And our observatory is not actually in the path of totality, but our partner there has set up a telescope feed into the path of totality for us, and that's what we're looking at right now. And we'll actually have a guest on later today about talking about their feed and what they were able to see in totality and who they were able to share it with. This is, if you're looking at the screen now, an image of the path of totality. So where I said that you're stretching only across a very narrow portion of South America, if you're looking, so you can see the grading here, where you can see about a 10%, 20%, all the way to the 100% totality viewing capabilities. So that highlighted yellow line is the path of totality for this total solar eclipse. So when you look over at landfall in South America, that's the very small, roughly 90-mile wide portion that's able to see this in person. So maybe some of you have actually traveled there right now. And if you did, hopefully you have clear skies and you're just watching us for fun, and hopefully you're not weathered out, but we are here in case you are, and also, of course, in case you weren't able to travel there. So as you're watching on slooh.com, you're going to notice that our feeds are all set up at the top. So what you'll see as we progress
Very
the
small,
show is we'll
roughly
be coming in and
90
out with
mile wide
me and our
portion
guests and
that's
our
able to
feeds.
see
But if you
this
ever
in
want to check
person.
out a
So
particular
maybe some of
feed,
you have
you
actually
can click on
traveled
it at the
there right
very top
now,
of
and
the
if you
show,
did,
and then
hopefully
that's
you
where you're
have
going to
clear
get the
skies
camera
and
button.
you're just
So
watching
our
us for
Star
fun,
Share
and
camera
hopefully you're
is
not
set up for
weathered
you.
out, but we
You're
are
going to
here
want
in
to
case
take
you
a
are,
bunch of
and also, of
images from
course, in
today,
case you weren't
roughly
able to
one
travel
every
there.
5 minutes
So
if you
as
can,
you're
is our
watching on
recommended
Slooh.com, you're going
frequency
to
for
notice
taking
that
images. And the reason to do this is because one of our long time in the making functionalities that we're releasing this month are quests. They are part of our educational platform, but they will be available for everybody. They're interactive activities on our website. So you can go on, use our data collection tool and our telescopes to get images of some of the greatest celestial objects in the night sky, and then learn about astronomy through them. So we'll be leading you in the self-guided learning exploration. And so you're going to want to pay attention because the very first quest that's going to launch is the 2019 South American Total Solar Eclipse quest. So take an image, as I said, about every 5 minutes from perhaps the same telescope if you can, the same observatory partner, and you'll use that in the upcoming quest, and keep your eyes peeled for when that quest is releasing, probably in just a few short weeks. So we are flipping through our feeds now. We are back looking at the Catholic University in Chile, our partner there. And we have a couple other feeds set up for you today. We also have a feed at the Observatorio El Sauce, located in the Path of Totality in Rio Hurtado Valley in the south of the Atacama Desert in Chile. We have a feed from partners at the Aura Observatory in Cerro Chololo, Chile, and then also from La Silla Observatory in Chile. So all of our partners are in Chile today, and that actually did seem to work out well because, unfortunately, of the poor weather forecast in Argentina. But we are watching at the PUC. I'm going to abbreviate it, the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. We'll call the PUC throughout the show, just for ease of use. So if you're watching, we are about 1.5 to a little under 2 minutes from the partial eclipse starting. So keep your eyes on this feed. You'll start to notice, I'll alert you when it comes just in 2 minutes, as we start to see the moon eclipse the sun. So what's exactly happening here? We're going to talk about the science behind this through the whole event. But basically, this is a sort of dance of the Earth, Moon, Sun system. And it's a beautiful cosmic dance. And it's one that actually happens by coincidence a little bit. So the sun is roughly 400 times the size of the moon. And it also happens to be roughly 400 times away from us, distance from us, than the moon. So because of that, great, thank you, Studio, for bringing up this diagram. This is how a solar eclipse works. So you can see where the moon is moving in between the Earth and the sun. And because of this distance and size ratio being so perfect, the moon fully eclipses the sun. So there's these different portions of where the shadow is. The penumbra is the partial shadow region, which is what we're about to enter in just any time now. So we can head back to the feed so we can watch as the moon starts to eclipse. We're in the partial portion of the shadow, the penumbra. And then at totality, which today is going to last just about 2 minutes long, in roughly a little bit over an hour, we'll be in totality for about 2 minutes. That's called the umbral shadow, where the sun is fully eclipsed by the moon. So let's switch back to the PUC feed so that we can watch the partial eclipse begin. If you are looking at the sun, if you're observant, you might notice, and I get really excited about this. Sorry, I'm going to be like smiling ear to ear and probably giggling the whole time. In the very bottom left of the sun, you can see where the curvature is a little bit cut out. Great, zooming in, thank you. That's the moon. It's starting to eclipse the sun. And so we're going to see a lot of really exciting things as this starts to happen. We're going to see the moon come all the way across the sun's surface, and off the other side, when we're in totality, we're going to see really amazing features that happen because of this, what you'll be looking at is the coronal surface of the sun. It's this layer of the sunlight that you're not really able to see unless the moon is fully eclipsing it. We'll see a ring around the sun. And it's actually called a diamond ring because we'll see this little burst of sunlight shooting off the side. So that's upcoming in totality. And like I said, a little over an hour. We'll be here with you throughout the whole way. We have great guests coming up. Just in a few minutes, we have Dr. Mariana Oriana, who is going to be live in Argentina. We'll find out what her weather is doing down there. And then we have Dr. Mike Shaw, which you might be familiar with as he's been doing some weekly solo live casts on his photographing the night sky. And he'll talk to us a bit about how you could photograph an eclipse such as this. Then coming at the top of the hour, we have a really exciting event for today. We have ABC News' Rob Marciano, senior meteorologist, live from an eclipse viewing party in Chile. And then we have some more great guests coming up at the end of the show. Like I mentioned, our partner from the PUC, and then also a guest from the Nashville Zoo. And we have an eclipse chaser, a professional eclipse chaser from Harvard University. It's going to be a really exciting show. Lot going on. Like I said, get yourself comfortable because we're going to be here for a little while. And remember, I'll keep reminding you, but take a picture as often as you can of these feeds. And I'm going to be doing it too. So just don't worry. I'll literally tell you, I'm pressing the Star Share camera button right now with you because I want to be able to do the quests too and get my images. So stay tuned for all the exciting things that we have coming up. If you're watching on Slooh.com, that's where you can ask us questions. So at the very bottom of the video viewer for the show, you see a chat box. We'll be monitoring that live throughout the show. So give us a shout out. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you happen to be in South America in the path of totality and you're still watching here. And also if you have any questions for me, I can try to answer those as we go. So we'll be paying attention. Give us a shout out. So you've got some tasks as you're doing this with me. First, you've got to pay attention and have fun. This is going to be awesome. And now if you're looking at the PUC feed, you can really see the moon starting to crawl across the solar surface. So now you can very well see where the circular edge of the sun, that arc, is being obstructed by the moon. So pay attention, have fun, get comfortable, because we're in for a long haul. Take your images as often as you can from our observatory feeds at the top of the show and let us know where you're watching from and ask questions. We'll be back in just about a minute with our first guest, Dr. Mariana Oriana, who is joining us from Argentina. So we'll see you very, very soon. Welcome back to the 2019 South American Total Solar Eclipse with Slooh. We are live with our very first guest of the evening, Dr. Mariana Oriana from the National University of Rio Negro, where she is a researcher and professor and a member of the International Astronomical Union. Mariana, it is wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's very nice to be with you. And also, I'm trying to see the eclipse through Slooh because here is with the bad weather, really bad.
Oh, is it really? Is it raining, cloudy?
Very cloudy. We hope to have a chance at the end of the eclipse, maybe.
You never know. Paul Cox has some great
Yeah.
stories about when the eclipses were all clouded out, and just at the moment of totality, it miraculously cleared up.
Let's hope so. Yes.
The totality doesn't start for about an hour, so you might have some time there too.
Yes. We will have here a maximum of 70%.
Okay, great. Well, you're very close to totality. So, if
Yes.
the studio could bring back up the image of the path so we could see exactly where roughly 70% viewing is, we could look at that. Great. So, we see where the path of totality is on the screen in the yellow highlighted bar. And so, you're a little bit farther north or south of that,
To the south.
to the south in the 70%
Yes.
area.
My
Great.
latitude is around 41 degrees to the south.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we hope you have clear skies. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
We are currently watching our partner feed in Chile from the PUC. They have great views. So it seems like the weather is doing okay in Chile right now. We're seeing the partial eclipse start where the moon is just sort of coming over to the edge. And I was wondering if you could explain to our viewers a little bit just about the difference between partial versus total solar eclipse and maybe why you're not in the path of totality, but just a little north of you is. What's going on there?
Well, at the north from here, where totality is going to happen, the alignment between the moon and the sun will be perfect. So you are right in the umbra of the moon. But here
Okay.
I'm not so well aligned.
Okay. And
That-
this changes for every total solar eclipse, right? Not every total, like the last one in 2017 ran through North America, and now this one's in South America. And so they change all over every time.
Yes, that's because the shadow of the moon is really small compared to the size of the Earth.
Okay. And because the moon also doesn't orbit in the exact plane that the Earth orbits the sun in. So I've been asked before, how come we don't have a total eclipse every time the moon goes around the Earth every month?
No, it's not possible every month. We have
Right.
to wait until the moon crosses to the same plane with the sun. There you have a beautiful sketch, and that happened
Right.
around
Okay.
18 months.
Great. Right. Okay, that helps explain it. Thank you. Yeah. So there's a very small portion that's going to be in totality. Then there's a much larger portion that's going to see a partial solar eclipse, which, hey, if you're not in totality but you're in the partial eclipse, that's awesome as well and very worth going outside for if you're in any parts of South America that are able to see that right now. Um, and then maybe if you're not in anywhere near that area, maybe the next total solar eclipse will come to you.
Well, in our case, is something like true
Yeah.
because 2020 we will have a more close the total eclipse. Here we will have a 96%.
Oh, wow. That's in 2020?
Yes, on 14 December.
Great. That's very soon. So yeah, that's just, we were saying this is the last total solar eclipse for about a year and a half, and the first one in about 2 years, a little under 2 years. So that's really exciting and great for you that you'll be even closer next time. Hopefully you'll definitely have clear skies then. That would be your summer, right? So maybe you'll be better off.
Right, yes. Yes, yes. And also it's more spectacular with the sun very above and changing the temperature.
Ah, right. So here in North America, we're expecting another one in 2024. So a little ways from now, but everybody that got to see the one in 2017 is very excited for the one in 2024. I had family and friends that didn't go see the one in 2017 that are saying, now I'm booking my hotel a year in advance. I will not miss the next one.
Yes, it's a huge opportunity.
Is this the first one you've been able to see in person?
The previous one in 2017 was annular here.
Oh, great.
It
So
was
you've
very nice
seen this
and
in person before. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask, since you're a professor at the National University of Rio Negro and you're a part of the IAU, the International Astronomical Union, for everybody listening, is there any sort of special outreach or education that goes on around this? Is there anything fun happening for this one in particular or planned for the one in 2020?
For this in particular, we're going to meet just in a moment at the beach, so we can see maybe if the clouds move a little. There is a huge community of amateur astronomers here.
Oh, that's great.
So we interact a lot, and we focus some of the IAU actions on the outreach. So we have this contact with the community.
That's amazing. We really love to hear that. And we're so excited to be working with the IAU and to be able to have you on our show to talk about this. Where I live too, we have a lot of different amateur astronomy groups that do outreach events for things like this and also work with the IAU and the AAS. And it's really great. There was a lot of outreach opportunities around the one in 2017. So I'm sure there, where you are now, there's a ton of things going on.
Yes, a lot.
So do
And
you have
maybe,
your, go ahead.
sorry.
Do you have your special solar eclipse glasses? Are you looking through anything in particular?
Yes, I have glasses, and we are also expecting to project the sun, so many people can look at the same time.
Okay, so what do you use to do that?
Uh, like dark chambers where you make a little hole in one surface, and on the other
Mhm.
one you see projected the shape of the sun with the moon crossing in front of.
So anybody could do that.
Of
They
course,
just
yes.
need, what materials would they need to build something like that?
A box, a large
Okay.
box, and a white material to use as a place to project the sun.
Okay. So as a reflective surface. So if you cut just a little pinhole in the one surface, then as the sunlight comes through, you'll see the projection. And so you'll see the shape of the sun being eclipsed by the moon, and then you won't need glasses because you're not looking directly at the sunlight. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes, that's the idea, of course.
That's great. Well, we would love to see a picture of the setup you have. If you're able to snap something of everybody there that's participating and share it with us, we would love to get to show that later today. We hope you have clear skies for it. And sometimes we've seen, I mean, Paul Cox has chased these all over, and we've also been able to see sometimes you can still see some through the clouds. So here's hoping.
Yes. let's go with the eclipses.
Yes, definitely. Well, Mariana, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We have all of our fingers and toes crossed for you. And we'd love to see if you're able to share a picture with us of your eclipse watching party. Say hello to everybody there from Slooh.
Thanks a lot. It was wonderful to be with you in the show, and I hope to see the totality on Slooh also. If I miss that here.
Yeah. We will be here for it just in case you need us. Of course, we hope you see it live in person, but if not, we will have it here. And thank you again. And we look forward to speaking with you again soon. And good luck. Clear skies.
Thank you. Good luck to you too.
Thank you. So, coming up in just a few minutes, we have Dr. Mike Shaw joining us. He is remote as well, but he is actually a nightscape photographer. So he's going to talk to us about how you can, if you're in totality or in a partial path, you can take images or time lapses or videos of this eclipse yourself with maybe the camera and telescope that you have at home. So Dr. Mike Shaw will be on in just a few minutes to give us a briefing on how to do that. And then at the top of the hour, we have a special report from ABC News's Rob Marciano, senior meteorologist. He'll be joining us for an hour to share with us his eclipse watching party in Chile at his location. A reminder, you can ask questions on slooh.com. Underneath of our video viewer, there's a live chat box there. We'll be monitoring that so I can answer some for you as we go. In addition, we have at the top of the video viewer, you can flip through all of our different observatories. We are currently featuring our partners, OBSTech Hosting. We have our observatory partner at the PUC, or Observatory, and Cerro Tololo and La Silla Observatory. You can click through all of these different feeds and snap images. And as you snap these images, they'll get saved in your photo hub, and then you can use those when our very first quest launches, which is going to be highlighting the South American total solar eclipse. You'll get to put everything together and create your own time lapse. So snap an image as often as you can from the same observatory if you can, and do multiple. You don't only have to do one. I'm snapping with you as we go. I've got the button pushing because I want to participate too. So don't be shy. Snap as many as you can. We have an hour until totality now. Totality is at 2039-24 UTC. So right now it is 1943 UTC. So in just under an hour, we'll be seeing totality. And totality only lasts for about 2 minutes or so. So make sure that is not when you're taking your coffee break. So we will be back in just about a minute with Dr. Mike Shaw. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Slooh for the 2019 South American Total Solar Eclipse. We are live with Dr. Mike Shaw, astrophotographer and author. Hi, Mike. It's wonderful to have you joining us.
Good afternoon, Dr. Godfrey. It's a pleasure to be back on Slooh with you. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. We love having you. If you've been following along at Slooh, you might notice that Dr. Shaw has been participating in running his own club called Nightscapes on our site. So if you are not a member, you should be. And if you are, then you know that he's been teaching us every week with live solo audio casts and talking in the club, sharing ways to photograph the night sky. So we're going to ask him in just a minute how you can photograph an eclipse for yourself and any successes that he's had. But just to point out, we are looking at a live feed of the total solar eclipse from Chile from our friends at OBSTech Hosting at the Observatorio El Sauce. So if you're watching along, in addition to listening to Mike telling us how to do it live for ourselves, if you happen to be in the path, be clicking that camera button and taking your images so that you can participate in the first quest launch in just a couple weeks. So Mike, regale us with your favorite eclipse chasing story or how we can do this for ourselves. Let loose.
Thanks very much, Paige. So I just wanted to echo Dr. Oriana's point about using a solar filter for observing the partial phases, because one of the things with viewing, as we all know, solar eclipses, especially with the excitement of the event, is how dangerous it can be to our eyesight to view the sun directly through any type of an imaging a tool, if it's a camera or a telescope. There's some after the 2017 total solar eclipse. There's some fantastic YouTube videos of what happens to cameras for people who didn't do this, and they've actually basically melted holes in the sensors and stuff. So just a note to the viewers that do be careful to not view the sun directly. I know it's a tragedy. But so I would say my favorite story was really, I mean, the one and only total solar eclipse that I've seen personally was the one in 2017. And that was the one in just a couple years ago. And I think my favorite part of that story, thinking back on it, was probably the moose that I had to encounter on the trail up to the lake where I was imaging the eclipse over Lake Solitude in the Grand Teton National Park. And the issue with this particular moose was that I was hiking up to this trail under some fairly serious time pressure, as you can imagine. The event was so popular that the rangers at the Grand Teton National Park the backpacking permits had filled up, and there was no overnight camping of any type. So it necessitated a early morning, departure and all this stuff. And so I ended up hiking up this trail, and right around, I would say, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I encountered a moose. And, moose aren't, live in Minnesota, and moose are pretty threatening animals when you rile them up. And so I had to kind of it was me and the moose, and me and the moose versus the eclipse. And so I was convinced that there was going to be a horde of people coming up behind me, and between us, we'd be able to chase this moose off the trail. And long story short, they never showed up. So I just kind of had to project my energy in such a way that the moose realized it was time to shuffle off to the side, and mutual respect and stuff. But it was, for anyone who's viewed a total solar eclipse, you'll know the feeling that I describe, which is this amazing experience of watching the partial phases switch into totality. And of course, there's so much value in observing partial phases of a total solar eclipse. I think my first apparatus was the one that Dr. Oriana and you were just discussing, which was a pinhole in a card, really. And I just remember this being back many years ago in California, and how effective it is in producing just through diffraction, a very clear image of the partial phases. So again, if anyone's listening that is able to, just in the path of the partial phases, that's very well worth doing. And especially you can see this effect if you look under the leaves of trees. You can see each of the small gaps in the leaves of the trees, or even a straw hat. The little tiny holes can produce a magnificent array of partial phases of the sun on some type of a viewing thing. So there's so many stories to share about the escapades of chasing celestial events like this. I'm sure you have your own. That these things always happen in a fleeting few minutes, and there's no rewind button.
Yes.
So there's always a certain amount of adrenaline, shall we say, involved. And no matter what the outcome, it's always worth the chase.
Absolutely. For the 2017, I had brought a spaghetti strainer with me. So it had all of these
Oh,
small
perfect.
holes, and I was able to use that to project a nice array of the partial eclipse phases. It was really cool. But
That's
yeah, that was my
great.
first apparatus and only so far. I don't have any special filter for my telescope or my camera, so I'd have to be very, very careful. And so that's a good warning to all listeners that when we talk about photographing events like this, you cannot just take your camera outside and do it. You have to be really careful. I was able to
Yes,
snap a
indeed.
picture of Totality in 2017. So
Oh,
we
great.
waited
Okay.
until it was right. So if you're in the path of Totality during Totality and during Totality only, you can take your glasses off. I'm going to get people sending me hate mail for saying this. But you can also use your camera at that
No,
moment.
you're absolutely right.
And
Of course, you're right. Yes.
thank you. You're going to get hate mail now too. So, so yes, I do have a picture of Totality from my DSLR, which is just absolutely my favorite thing ever. But you, of course, you
That's
can't do that if
fantastic.
you're only in a partial phase.
No, that's an exciting
Yeah.
thing because there is something about, the thing about that attracts me to photography in general is that ability to capture something, first of all, that you see and experience for posterity,
Hmm.
but then also to capture it in a way that sort of transcends human vision. And to me,
Right.
that's one of the great things about telescopic imaging of space, deep sky objects is we can't actually get into that sort of a mode of imaging. But so in terms of advice to people who are interested in photographing the either the partial phases or totality through a DSLR or a telescope, just like you said, there's really those two parts of it that are involved. And for the first part, if you're interested in photographing an image of the partial phases, like the one that we see here
Hmm.
from the Slooh telescopes, where I'm sure you have a solar filter. The key thing is there's actually buy a proper solar filter from a photographic supply house. And a normal neutral dent for those with a photographic background, a normal neutral density filter is not sufficient. It doesn't have the ultraviolet and the infrared uh, absorbing materials built in. You really must use a properly designed solar filter. And again, there's great YouTube videos about people who learned this lesson through a sort of a lab experiment with their camera. So just be careful
At least
about
they're
that.
willing to share with
But
us.
if you have, at least they're willing to share with us, they're good humored about it. But again, for the photographically inclined, I just looked up a few settings. And uh, because you're imaging the sun, um, the sensitivity of the camera is you can set it to be a very sort of a high, I guess I would call it a low sensitivity or a low ISO setting because we're not
Okay.
imaging the night sky. For those of us in the night sky community, this is a little unusual, but since we're photographing the sun, it's very, very bright. And you can get by with an ISO of 400 or maybe even 800 if you're willing to roll it, or maybe even 200, but in the 200 to 400 ISO range in terms of an aperture, this is for the partial phases. So 400
Okay.
ISO, an f-stop of, let's say you're around 4.8, 5, something like that, maybe even f8, but I would go with f.56 or f.4. And then what I'd recommend is, well, if you're actually shooting it now for the first live, because it's happening right live, I would use a
Mhm.
500th of a second shutter speed for a partial phase. And that combination of settings should give you a very nice image. You could try a 500th of a second, you could try 1/125th of a second, but with an ISO of 400, an aperture of f4, and a shutter speed, excuse me, of 500th of a second, you'll get a nicely exposed image of the sun that's not overexposed, and you can see very clearly the outline of the eclipsing moon. And then, like you say, once you get within probably 10 seconds of totality, and there's some great apps for timing this. You can,
Right.
I forget the name of it, but I used the one in 2017, and it was like spot on. You got the GPS location. It has this very like mechanical. We talk about adrenaline. I mean, it has this mechanical countdown voice, which is like, 10, 9, and then sure enough, it starts happening,
Yeah.
and your fingers are shaking and all this sort of stuff. But once you get within about 10
You might
seconds
be
of
crying
totality,
if you're
you can
me
just
or Paul Cox.
oh, it's absolutely. I mean, it really
Yeah.
um, It really is a human connection. I'll say a minute about that if we have time. But in terms of once you get into totality, of course, then you can totally remove the solar filter and then adjust the shutter speed to a, you could try leaving it the same sort of range of shutter speeds, but honestly, I would bracket the shutter speeds all the way from 4,000ths of a second all the way to even a second, a full second, to capture the range of exposures, the range of foregrounds. And then once you have that range of exposures, then you can pick and choose the ones to combine or that you like the most. But the nice thing about that is there's no danger of actually overexposing your sensor in a way that would physically harm your camera.
Okay, good to
And
know.
I just realized the other thing I thought I wanted to add to all of this is that there's really a choice between a wide angle lens, if you're interested in
Mhm.
sort of the whole landscape. That's probably the best one to choose if this is your first time photographing an eclipse because it's the most forgiving. And then all the way into the more telescopic telephoto lens that require a tracked mount like the one that you're using on the show. To do more of a different range of images, but there's a lot of photographic opportunities that lie in a single total solar
Right.
eclipse, and it's just such an exciting thing to observe personally and to live through in past times. So there's many things to do. And if anyone has a
Absolutely.
question, you can always get in touch with me or you or anything like that as well.
Well, you. Don't get in touch with me about how to do all the fancy photography stuff. We did all of this. I didn't do any of
We'll
it. I
figure
just
it out.
literally held my DSLR up and went click. So there
Nice.
was probably
Well,
a lot
that's
better I could have done had I known you then.
oh, there's this saying in photography that, like, there's this famous photographer, Galen Rowell, and he was once asked, "What's the secret to?" He's one of the first, like, action photographers. What's the secret to great nature photography? And his advice was f8, which is a camera setting, f8 and be there.
Right.
And you were there.
So,
If
yes.
if you're sitting on your couch, it's not going to happen. So the main thing is to
Right.
be there. And then if you happen to get a shot of it of any variety, bravo.
Right. And that's funny that you end on that because I was just going to say too that of course all of this is incredible, and if you are able to get any sort of image or time lapse of it, that's amazing. And of course if you're in any of part of
It
the
really
path
is.
area, please send it to us. But also like don't sacrifice your ability to view it live because you're so focused on your tech, right? Especially if this is your first one, that human connection you mentioned, it's so
Absolutely.
magical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's the thing that I guess I would like to end on is to just to point out that one of the things about events like this, going back to my very first one, where I had the pinhole in the piece of card,
Mhm.
I remember that one of the things that was kind of a struggle for me mentally was like, where should I go to view this thing? And the answer is it doesn't
Right.
matter because it affects everything in the path equally. And it's that sense of a global phenomenon that I think really brings. This is something that Slooh is so good at. It just spans the globe. It brings everybody, regardless of where you are, together
Right.
under a single global phenomenon. And it's that unifying connection that I think is one of the aspects of this that is an intangible thing that you can share with other observers of the eclipse, forever as you talk about it and find out, oh, you actually were there
Mhm.
for that. Oh, well, how cool is that? So, at any rate,
Right.
it's a great event, and it's exciting to watch the moon progress into the sun's disk.
Yes, absolutely. And we are all about that, getting everybody together across the globe for one moment together for one celestial event. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for joining us, Mike. This was wonderful. We learned a lot. And if you're interested in
My
following
pleasure.
up more about how to photograph the night sky, you can join Dr. Shaw and his Nightscapes Club on Slooh.com. He's actually doing a live cast tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. That is
Indeed.
0100 UTC. So be sure to tune in live for Dr. Shaw tonight. Thank you again. And I hope you're taking images too on Slooh.com, right? I keep like
You bet.
hitting people
Absolutely.
with that.
Well,
Awesome. Well,
fortunately, we
thanks
don't have to
again.
worry about focusing the lens. So, my
Right.
pleasure, Clay. Thank you very much.
Right. We at Slooh do that for you. So this is the easiest way to photograph the night sky is to just use the camera button on our website. Thanks again, Dr. Shaw. And coming up in just another minute, we are going to be joined by very special guests, multiple. So we have ABC senior meteorologist Rob Marciano, who is in Chile, at a eclipse watching party, and we're going to be joined by viewers of ABC News. Really exciting. We'll be back in just a minute after this quick break. Welcome back to Slooh. We are live watching the 2019 South American Total Solar Eclipse together. We are so happy to have you joining us. And at the top of this hour, we are very excited to be sharing this eclipse with ABC News viewers and senior meteorologist Rob Marciano from ABC, who is in Chile right now at an eclipse viewing party. And he'll be sharing with us how it's going, how's the weather, what are they seeing. We'll get to be at the party with Rob and his guests. Thank you for joining us. A couple quick reminders. If you're watching on Slooh.com, we have a live chat box where you can talk to us and one another. We'll be pulling in some questions at the end of the show. You can also use our Star Share camera button to take images from all of our live feeds from our partner observatories today in Chile. We're highlighting very special friends in Chile, the PUC, the Catholic University of Chile. We have OBS Tech hosting. We have our friends at Cerro Tolelo. And we are so grateful for all of you for sharing your feeds with us today. We are now going to go over to ABC, where we have Rob Marciano for a live report from Chile.
Hello, Paige. Great to be with you live from Chile, the Elqui Valley, just up the road from La Serena. And we've got sunshine, thankfully. We've got blue sky, thankfully. And we're getting, I don't want to say we're halfway through, but the midway point of the sun is now being touched by the edge of the moon. So excitement is growing around me. This is a viewing party, one of hundreds of them across this country today. You can see astronomer fans around me set up with their cameras, with their telescopes. This is actually part of a Sky and Telescope magazine viewing party, so we've got some experts that we're going to tap into as well. Of course, this is on the heels of the 2017 Great American Eclipse, where so many Americans saw a total solar eclipse for the first time and got hooked, and a lot of those Americans traveled all the way down here to see this one, because the number one question everyone asks after they see their first solar eclipse is, well, when's the next one? Well, this is it. There'll be another one next year down there if you want to make the trip. There'll be another one after that in Antarctica if you can swing that one. Sky and Telescope will tell you how you can do it. Get on a plane, and there'll be one in the U.S. in 2024 that will start in Texas and go over towards western New York. This thing has progressed thousands of miles across the Pacific. It'll be total here in roughly a half an hour, and you'll be seeing that live. I mean, this is rare for sure. The shadow of the moon is going to race up this valley. By the way, let's, Scott, if we could just kind of scoot around and show folks the landscape here a little bit. Those are walnut trees. This is a beautiful valley here in a desert location. It's very much like, feels like Palm Springs to me, like the San Jacinto Mountains around. It's very dry, arid mountains, and the wind can get cooking up here, but today it hasn't been so bad. And the marine layer, which is very typical in winter, which is right now, thankfully is held to the coastline. It doesn't always very often get up here, so thankfully it hasn't done that. So weather has been good. As you probably have mentioned, this happens about one every 18 months. So the last one was in 2017, and here we are. So much more rare than a lunar eclipse, and it just boggles my mind that the moon at its size has to be the perfect amount of mileage away from us to cover that disk of the sun, and we just got dumb luck and get these incredible solar eclipses. Should we talk to Kelly? Kelly Beatty. He's the senior editor of Sky and Telescope magazine. What's happening, man? How's it looking in that telescope of yours?
It's looking great. You know, the moon's shadow is racing across the Pacific Ocean now, racing toward us at about a mile per second. Boggles the mind.
It does. It does.
So you mentioned, you know, how you have to be in the right place at the right time. This eclipse will cover from end to end maybe 10,000 miles, but only 1/100% of Earth's surface.
That's crazy.
And we are standing in that 1/100%.
Well, it took some work for all of us to get here, to be fair.
It did. So our group is set up here. We've come from all over. We have a couple from New Zealand and Canada and so forth. They are eclipse junkies.
Yeah.
You know, we once you've had a few, it's like you know, going to having your favorite drink. You want to have that favorite drink in as many bars as possible.
And you've seen over a dozen of these things.
I have. In fact, I've seen 2 or 3 of them here from South America. I've seen them from planes. I've seen them from cruise ships. It's been quite a career. I'm very, very lucky.
And this is special for South America and Chile especially. I mean, this is kind of a mecca for astronomers like you.
It totally is, both amateur and professional. So last night, for example, we went to a local tourist observatory. It's an amateur astronomer who has bought some really nice telescopes, and he brings people in, not for free, but he brings people in and shows them the amazing sights in the southern sky. So people in the United States are used to seeing the Big Dipper, but they can't see the Southern Cross, for example. Down here, it's just the opposite. They see the Southern Cross every night, all night, and can never see the Big Dipper. But there's so many beautiful things in the sky. And then professionally, we are in the path of, and you can see it on the mountaintop over there, professional observatories like Cerro Tololo and Gemini, and those telescopes are in the path of the eclipse too. So there are scientists up there right now waiting to take data that they hope will unlock some secrets of the sun.
And we have a full-on PhD hosting this show back in the office. But I want to get your take as to what we'll see when we have totality, and what those scientists that are at those observatories, what they're hoping to measure and witness.
Sure. So 2 rather different questions. For us, first of all, it'll get dark, like twilight. Then the sun's atmosphere will appear. We call it the corona. It's there all the time, but the disk of the sun is so blindingly bright that we can't see it except when the moon covers that disk.
Even with all of our equipment, this is the only time.
This is the only time,
Oh,
even
man.
for professionals. Birds will go to roost. The temperature will drop, and the whole area will take this sort of eerie glow around it. And you'll know that the eclipse is total because everybody will be screaming and shouting
Yeah.
like crazy.
It is quite an experience. All right, look, we're going to come back to you a little bit later in half an hour
Yeah.
for an update, and with your telescope and all your goodness. There he is, Kelly Beatty, who runs, he's a senior editor at Sky and Telescope magazine. So we've got experts here, we've got enthusiasts, we've got the eclipse junkies here, Paige, myself included, and we're just counting down the minutes for this thing to go total. Back to you.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us, Rob Marciano. If you are watching, you are noticing that we are doing something very exciting today. we have ABC News viewers with us. We have senior meteorologist Rob Marciano live from a solar eclipse watching party in Chile in the path of totality. We are very fortunate to have that and very excited to be sharing this with you throughout the rest of the hour. So in just a few minutes, we will have Rob back, but let's take a look at who's watching with us. Let's go to, if you're watching with us at slooh.com, underneath the video viewer, you see this live chat box. I'm going to scroll through it now and highlight some shout outs and maybe answer some questions. And also, are you taking those images? At the very top of the viewer, you'll see the star share camera button. Flip through all the observatory feeds, snap your images. You can use those in our first quest ever to launch, our first interactive activity that we're calling Quest. It's going to be about the South American total solar eclipse. So make sure you're taking an image about every 5 minutes if possible. Coming up in just a few minutes, we will be back with Rob Marciano interviewing some of the eclipse watchers there and searching for some eclipse phenomena. We are under a half hour away now from totality. So it's coming up really, really quickly. So make sure you're staying tuned. Let's see if we have any specific shout outs or questions. So here's a fun one from somebody who is watching from her own backyard in South America and on slooh.com. So we have somebody doing both. Just a little bit ago, when I was speaking with Dr. Mariana Oriana from Argentina, who is also watching live today, she was saying that she might be watching on slooh.com, especially if they get weathered out there. And so we have found somebody else that's also watching in both. That's amazing. We are currently looking at our partner observatory with OBSTEC hosting at the Observatorio El Sauce in Chile. Thank you for sharing this feed with us, OBSTEC. We really appreciate it. It's gorgeous. You are watching, this might look to you like a moon phase, right? Like you see the crescent sun instead of the crescent moon. And that's because the moon is going to eclipse the sun fully. We are in the partial phase still, so we are in the penumbral shadow. So the moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, but also about 400 times closer to us than the sun is. And so when it happens to move in between the earth and the sun on the perfect plane, now if you were listening during Dr. Mariana Oriana's talk, you'll have heard that the moon doesn't orbit around us in an exact plane that the earth orbits the sun. So it's not every month that we get a total solar eclipse or a total lunar eclipse, but it's once in a while. And so the last one was about 2 years ago in 2017. The next one is about a year and a half away. It's going to grace South America again. Dr. Oriana was telling us she's in 70% totality there, and she'll be in 96% at the one in 2020 in December. And then in North America, we'll see another one again in April of 2024. So we're watching, if you started with us from the very beginning, you'll have just barely seen at that point where the moon was crossing in front of the sun. And now we are watching it. It is probably about halfway there. This is really exciting. So let's see who we're talking to on slooh.com. We have Alabama, Texas, let's see, New Orleans, Arizona, Florida, Pittsburgh, Houston, Brussels. Hey, New Jersey. That's my backyard. We also have Dublin, Ireland, Alberta, Canada. Great. And we also have a really fun question. Why does the moon appear to be taking quite a different bite of the sun in different directions from each observatory? That is a very good question. So every time you set up a feed like this, your orientation can be different based on the way that you're post-processing the images. So depending on your location and on the angle that you're viewing the sun in, and then depending on the way that you flip it in your post-processing is how you'll see this look a little bit different. So sometimes if you're watching the Slooh solar telescope, you might notice that things flip every once in a while a little bit too. So that's sort of like a location-based way your telescope's facing, post-processing recipe there that goes into that. But don't worry, the sun isn't spinning in crazy different directions in all this different time. So let's see who else do we have? Ask Paige any questions. Yes, ask me any questions. Connecticut, Philadelphia, Virginia, someone from Texas who is nowhere near Chile, they're saying. Yes, neither am I. South Africa, awesome. Let's see, Maryland. Wow, this is amazing. We're so grateful for all of you here to be watching this with us from all over the world like this. This is very, very exciting. Israel. A lot of people saying that they were able to see the 2017 and not able to see the one now in South America. Right. I feel you. I was not able to either, but we are watching it together from the comfort of our home. So hopefully you've been able to take some water breaks and get very comfortable. So someone is asking a little bit about why sometimes the telescopes go a little out of focus. And actually somebody answered this for us on here as well, but I'll read it out loud in case you're curious too. Sometimes telescopes can get very, very hot as a result of pointing at the sun. So they might pull away for a second to cool off. Sometimes we can have some humidity, which can affect the quality of the camera. And so you might see them adjusting due to that. I've just received word that we are ready to go back to Rob Marciano, who is live from his viewing party in Chile. He'll be interviewing some eclipse watchers there and searching for some phenomenon. So we will go to a short break and then bring Rob right back in. Welcome back to Slooh. We are watching the 2019 South American Total Solar Eclipse. We have a very special segment going on right now where we have viewers from ABC News joining us and also ABC News senior meteorologist Rob Marciano joining us from an eclipse viewing party in Chile. So we are now going to go to ABC's Rob Marciano for a live report from Chile.
Disk of the moon begins to cover up that sun just about 20 and change minutes away from totality. It's going to be my second total solar eclipse. I'm hooked like so many other Americans, and we've got a bunch of them that are here today. John, what's your last name?
Volk.
John Volk, and you're from again where?
Los Angeles area.
Have you seen an eclipse yet?
This will be number 5.
Number 5.
Yes.
Okay, just number 5. And what is it about eclipses that make you want to travel so far to see them?
I've always been into amateur astronomy my whole life, so I like astronomy in general, and eclipses just are very beautiful natural events, very emotional impact, and I always wonder about how it affected ancient people that weren't expecting it.
Right?
Whether it's fear or
man,
made spiritual or whatever, but it's just a beautiful natural phenomena, and I intend to keep watching them.
It is a spiritual event. It's Kaylin and Carolyn from Austin.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so you decided to travel all this way, even though Texas is going to be in the path of the 2024.
Exactly.
You're committed.
We are.
What number is this as far as eclipses go?
It's my first.
It is.
It is.
We have a newbie. Oh man, you've seen one before?
I've seen one before. The big one in 2017 is what got us down here.
All right, so you can now wait a minute. This is a special day for you guys, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
It's your anniversary.
Yes, it is.
So your wedding anniversary gift there is that you're going to see a solar eclipse.
Exactly.
right.
This is going to be a present, an anniversary gift you'll never forget.
I hope so.
Yes, we're so excited to see you. And from Oregon, what's your name, ma'am?
Jean Boer.
Jean Boer. And you must have seen the 2017 eclipse.
Yes, I did.
It went right through Oregon.
Yes, it did.
And you're hooked. Why?
I like to travel, and this
Good
is
excuse.
an interesting event and a good excuse. Sure.
So is this number 2 or
no, this
more?
is actually number 4.
Number 4?
Yes.
What's your favorite so far?
My goodness, I don't know.
They're
I'm
like
hoping-
children, right? You
I'm
can't
hoping,
really-
hoping this will be, but I enjoyed last year because it was in the Painted Hills of Oregon.
Oh,
I was
beautiful.
out near Mitchell.
Beautiful,
It was wonderful.
beautiful. Oh, man, it's such great landscape when these things happen. So we're all excited, clearly. This one may be a little bit different, I'm told, because we're at a solar minimum. And when we go through totality, we get the corona going. If the sun was going a little bit more strong, we'd see more vibrant corona. We might see, more activity on the poles of the moon. I'm not the expert, but that's what I've read and what I'm told. I'm excited to see it, and that's part of the joy of being an amateur enthusiast of things like this, because it's just incredible to witness. The temperature definitely has dropped. I mean, look, it's wintertime here, and we're getting towards the late afternoon, so just naturally the sun is going to start to lose some of its radiance. But oh yeah, now you're probably seeing it on your computer screens at home. We're almost at a quarter, what looks like in these glasses like a quarter moon. Scott, you going for it, man? You're not going off. Don't do that. Don't look directly into the sun. That's the number 1 rule. At least not until totality. What an experience this is. This has, it's for the moon to be set up so perfectly, and for its size to cover up the sun like it's going to do today is just an extraordinary treat. How long are you guys here for? Just 10 days. Oh, 10 days. So that's a real vacation. How about you guys?
A week.
A week. And
10 days.
10 days. All right, good. Well, I'm here for 3. So send me a postcard for the rest of this time. What do you plan on doing? What have you done in the past during totality?
I used to be into imaging. I was very serious into photographing, but this one I'm basically just going to enjoy with binoculars.
It's tough because you want to take the perfect picture, but what I discovered after the last one is that someone's going to take a better picture than me. So what do you guys plan on doing?
I'm just going to experience it.
Are you? I mean, they actually have some Shays Lounge chairs out here. Is that what you're going to do?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that doesn't sound bad, right? Shays Lounge, maybe a little
Cocktail.
anniversary celebratory cocktail.
I'm taking pictures. So,
you are?
we're going to try and enjoy it and get the perfect photo at the same time.
And have you thought about 2024? What's your good deal?
Absolutely. It turns out the center line of totality goes right through our ranch in Central Texas, so we will be ready for it.
Oh, yes, we will. I'll be there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll send you an invitation.
You make room? Because traffic. I think it's going to be in April, which is
Perfect.
for Texas. I think that's the best spot to be because you get up towards western New York or even Tennessee, Kentucky. It could weather could get kind of dicey.
Could be.
Not here. You guys getting cold? I'm getting a little chilly. You're all right? All right, so here we go. The 2019 solar eclipse, the Great South American Eclipse. How lucky are the Americas to have not 1, not 2, not 3, well, 3 really in the last few years. No, it'll be 4 if we count 24. Anyway, plus Antarctica. I mean, all the action is in the Western Hemisphere right now, and we are so incredibly pumped about it. Oh, I just looked up without putting my glasses on.
Welcome back, and thank you, Rob, for sharing with us. We are so close to totality. If you are watching our live feeds, such as our one from OBS Tech Hosting, our partner feed that is set up in Chile right now at the Observatorio El Sauce, we are noticing that the sun is almost becoming fully eclipsed. We're really, really close. We are just, let's see, about 15 minutes from totality. Just 15 minutes. This is very, very exciting. So We actually have someone who told us on Slooh.com that they are putting off food shopping until this is over, and I fully support that. Dinner can wait. This is more important. There's our partner feed, OBSTech hosting at the Observatorio El Salze. Thank you for sharing this feed with us, OBSTech. This is gorgeous. And this is what I'm referring to when I mean that we're almost completely in totality. We're starting to lose the sun. The moon is fully eclipsing it. One of the interesting things that we have learned over the years from our cultural correspondent, Helen Avery, is that these phenomena back in ancient times were very alarming. People didn't know exactly what was going on, and these were a sign of a threat. Sometimes events like these were sort of like celestial celebrations, but other times they were very, very scary what was happening. Imagine looking up, walking out your front door right now and seeing this and not knowing what's happening. It could be very terrifying. So it's very interesting to learn about the history of how astronomy was viewed from our ancient ancestors all the way up through today. Remember that you can ask questions to us over on Slooh.com at the chat box under the video viewer. You can also go above the video viewer and snap images with our Star Share camera, and you should be doing that about every 5 or so minutes so that you can use them in our quests that will be releasing in just a couple weeks. So let's see. This is my first ever solar eclipse. I am so amped. Yeah, that's amazing. Welcome to being here. Somebody else asked, are some people more prone to experiencing solar eclipses than others? That's a very good question. And no, not necessarily. So the reason we don't see these every single month, even though the moon orbits the Earth every month, is because it is around a different plane than the Earth orbits the sun. So the Earth orbits the sun in this plane here. The moon goes around the Earth in like a tilted plane. So it takes every once in a while for the moon to actually get in position to fully eclipse the sun in this way. And this is a phenomenon that we're losing because the moon is slowly but surely moving away from Earth. And eventually, in like a billion years or something, we will no longer have total solar eclipses because we will lose this fantastic coincidence of this cosmic dance where the sun is 400 times distant than the moon is from us. And it's also 400 times bigger. So as the moon moves further away from us, eventually in about a billion years, we will no longer be able to see the moon fully eclipse the sun in this way. So let's see what questions we might have. Let's see. Somebody else's first solar eclipse, somebody else. This reminds me of the 2017 Great American Eclipse when I was with the Slooh team in Idaho. Oh, awesome. Very awesome. Love hearing about that. So we traveled for the one in Idaho. Let's see. Potentially a naive question. None of them are naive. I promise you, Dan. Will all the observatory feeds be able to see totality? Yes. Great question. In about 10 minutes time, we're going to have totality. All of the feeds will be able to see totality because all of our partner feeds are set up in the path of totality. That was on purpose. So very good question. So any of the ones you're looking at, you'll be able to get a great image of totality. So coming up, Marciano will be back interviewing some of the eclipse watchers there as they gear up for totality in just 10 minutes time. And we'll be back after a short break to bring back ABC News' Rob Marciano. Welcome back to the show. We are joined by ABC News viewers, and now we're going to go to ABC News' senior meteorologist, Rob Marciano, for a live report from Chile. Just a moment as Rob is getting ready in Chile for us to head back to him. But we are only about 9 minutes out from totality. We are getting very, very close. So if you're watching our partner feeds at La Sila, at Cerro Tololo, at the Catholic University of Chile, so they've set up a feed for us in the path of totality. They're actually our observatory partner. So if you notice, we have nighttime telescopes set up in Chile, partnered with the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, the PUC, as I've been calling it today. They are our observatory partner for our nighttime telescopes in Chile, and they have set up a wonderful live feed for us in the path of totality. And then, of course, we have OBSTech hosting set up for us at the Observatorio El Sauce. And I believe we are ready to go back to ABC's Rob Marciano for a live report.
In this valley and that have converged upon this part of Chile that, as you can imagine, getting a signal out, and if anywhere, is a challenge, especially up this valley. Matter of fact, La Serena, which is just down the valley on the coastline, it's like the fourth largest city in Argentina, about 250,000 people or so in population. That has tripled today, just in the fact that we've had so many people come in. But I don't know if you can see around. I mean, it has noticeably gotten. See what I'm seeing nearly. Right now, we're looking at a crescent sun. So, I mean, we're just 8 minutes away from totality, and pretty soon we're going to get to the point where the temperature is going to continue to drop. It's getting Scott Schulman, my cameraman, just put the light on because it's getting that much darker, opening up the aperture. And what you see here is likely going to be a lot more light than what we're actually seeing here, just so that you can see what's going on here. So we're getting to the point where we're about to see things like the diamond ring effect, when the very edge of the moon crosses, and the very last bit of light fires, and we see the valleys and mountains of the moon. It's going to be so cool. People are starting to launch drones. Folks are getting excited here. Just minutes away from totality here up the Elqui Valley in Chile for the 2019 eclipse. Back to you.
Welcome back. Thank you, Rob, for the update from your eclipse viewing party in Chile. We are just minutes away from totality here. So Rob Marciano is actually in the path of totality in Chile. They will be watching it live in person. We'll be watching it live remotely at slooh.com with me. So if you are looking right now at this beautiful crescent sun from the Observatorio El Sauce in Chile from our partners OBSTech hosting, we are so excited. We are just about under, I think, 5 minutes away from totality. So totality is at 20:39:24 UTC. We are just minutes away. We are watching. If you are on our website, you can see all of the different feeds. We'll leave like the best one up or so for watching all of totality, because we don't want to switch on you throughout totality. We want you to be able to really concentrate and get an amazing view of it. But you can switch through our feeds on our website where you can take images and ask us questions. And so while we wait, let's answer a few of your questions because we have a few minutes before totality. So someone asked, do we expect this one to be more dramatic than the 2017 total solar eclipse due to the distance of the moon and sun? And so that's a really good question. And one of the ways that we gauge like best totality sort of is the duration of it. So the one in 2017, the transcontinental total solar eclipse, that totality time was 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. So the path of totality changes every time we have a total solar eclipse, and so does the duration that it lasts for, the moment of totality. So that one in 2017 was 2 minutes and 40 seconds. This one is just under 2 minutes, so about 1 minute and 50 seconds or so. And then there's one coming up in, I think the one in 2024, in April of 2024, that crosses North America again, will be about 4 minutes in length for totality. So now that's how you can gauge what sort of like a dramatic totality is how long it is. So 4 minutes is, I mean, double what we're going to get to experience today. And don't let it fool you that you think 2 minutes is long. It's going to fly by, I promise. It is so breathtaking and incredible. So some things that you want to look out for when we see totality, you're going to see the corona of the sun. So that is the outermost layer of the sun's surface. So the sun has a bunch of different gaseous layers. And there's the interior, there's a radiative zone, there's a convective zone. We have the photosphere and the chromosphere and the corona. And the corona is the last piece that you'll see as the moon fully eclipses the sun. So this is the surface sunlight coming right off and bending around the moon to reach our eyes on Earth. So another feature that you'll see, it's called the diamond ring. So this is the last or the first flash of light before or after the moon fully eclipses the sun. We'll also see Bailey's beads, which are just around the moon. The moon, well, that's not in quotes, it is the moon, but just around the moon's shadow. So we right now, remember, we are in the penumbral phase of this total solar eclipse, and we are about to enter the umbral phase, which is the path of totality. We are so, so close. Look at it right now. Go over to slooh.com, snap your images. Now's the time to do it. We are just seconds away from totality. And we are so close to seeing the diamond and the Bailey's beads. I'll point them out to you as we see it. But we are just about to lose the sun. I'm already almost in tears. Sometimes we make fun of our chief astronomical officer, Paul Cox, because he always says that he cries at these. But don't judge me if I start to cry. This is so incredible to me. Think about where you are right now. And this is what we'll talk through as we watch totality. Look at the sun disappearing. Think about where you are. You are standing on Earth. Maybe you're outside watching this live. Maybe you're in your home watching this from your bedroom, but you are watching our moon, which dances around the Earth, a full phase every month. There we are. We are in totality. That's the diamond ring. This is our Observatorio El Salze in Chile from our partners at Obtech Hosting. Thank you for sharing this with us. You are looking at the diamond ring. So we have the moon orbits the Earth every 29-ish days. The Earth orbits the sun. And because of this cosmic coincidence that the sun is about 400 times bigger than the moon and also about 400 times more distant, we are graced with this beauty. This isn't something that you would necessarily see on any other planet that we inhabited. It would have to be the perfect cosmic dance that this is. And this isn't one that'll last forever. Surely it'll last through our lifetimes. But in the next billion years or so, we're going to lose this phenomenon because the moon is slowly moving away from the Earth, and we will lose this perfect coincidence. So you are seeing right now the corona, that big flash of light surrounding the moon. That is the corona of the sun. peeking out from behind the eclipse, the eclipsed sun. We see the corona. We see the diamond ring showing up right out the bottom left corner. And then we'll start to see, as totality ends, we'll start to see the partial phase again. We'll start to see part of the sun coming back into view all the way back through until it's fully graced our daytime sky again. And we have coming up some really exciting things. We're going to hear about the human reaction to this. We're going to hear about the animal reaction to this. So animals, interestingly, and bugs react to it maybe even more drastically than humans. There you go. You can see the moon now moving its way across the sun again as we end totality. Be snapping your pictures over at slooh.com. We are leaving totality now. See how quickly that 2 minutes went? And we are starting to get the sun coming back again. So we are now out of totality. We are back out of the umbral shadow. We are back into the penumbral shadow, and we are seeing the moon move across the sun's surface in the other direction now. So hopefully you didn't take your water break during that, because this is the last time we'll see this for about another 1.5 years when this happens again in South America in December of 2020. Hopefully you've gotten some great shots of this. We're getting lots of reactions about the great view. And we will be bringing back on Rob Marciano in just a few minutes to tell us about how this went for them at their eclipse viewing party. Now, we're watching remotely, and so we're able to share in this awe and wonder from afar. But imagine being there with other people watching in person. And unfortunately, it's really hard to travel to these. So the last one in 2017 graced across North America, and some 10 million people were able to watch it live. This one is only covering a very small stretch of South America, so it doesn't hit that many people's front and backyards the way the one covered North America 2 years ago. But we are so grateful for all of our observatory feed partners that are down there setting this up for us. So a big shout out to Obstec Hosting at Observatorio El Sauce, La Sila Observatory, the Aura Observatory in Cerro Tolelo, and then we also have our observatory partner in Chile, the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. Thank you for sharing your feeds with us so that we were able to watch this beautiful cosmic dance. Coming up after our last bit with Rob Marciano, we'll be bringing in a guest from the PUC, from our observatory partner. We will also be bringing in a guest from the Nashville Zoo to talk to us about how the animals react to an experience like this. They were in the path of totality for the 2017 transcontinental total solar eclipse. And then also we have a guest from Harvard University who is a seasoned eclipse chaser, having seen 15 total solar eclipses. So we are very excited to hear from them. Let's see. So we are just back in the penumbral phase now. We are in the partial phase of the total solar eclipse. So we are leaving, we are done totality. We are coming back into the partial phase. So we can pull up that diagram where we show the difference between the partial and the total phase. So I can explain just a little bit about how this works with the way that the sun and the moon align perfectly to cast the shadow on Earth. And then also, what is the difference between a lunar and a solar eclipse? So great. Thank you, studio. So we are looking, pretend you're at this specific point on Earth here, and the moon moves right in front of the sun in the perfect plane. And you can see the outer shadow that the moon casts is called the partial eclipse phase, or the penumbra. And then the more inner shadow, that darker gray color, is the umbra, the total eclipse shadow. And so this is where we say the path of totality, it's much more narrow. The path of totality for today only covered about a 90-mile wide stretch of South America and a tiny uninhabited island right off of the coast of South America. And then the rest of it was in the ocean, unfortunately. So unless you're watching from a boat, there was only a small portion of land where you were able to see this. And then we have another great graphic to show the difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. So that's another question that I get a lot, is what is the difference and which one's being eclipsed in which? And so it's fun because you can kind of draw these out with the new emojis on your phone that are the sun, the moon, and the earth. I've totally done that before to help explain. But solar eclipse, we have the moon in between the earth and the sun. And a lunar eclipse, it's actually the earth that moves in between the moon and the sun, so that you can see the earth is eclipsing the moon in that case. And then there's a really funny one that goes around Twitter every time this happens from astronomer Katie Mack, who has the third one, which is if the sun was in between the earth and the moon, then apocalypse. So that would be a very interesting eclipse of some sort, and not one that we ever want to see happen. So coming up, we're going to bring back on Rob Marciano, senior meteorologist from ABC News, who is at an eclipse viewing party in Chile. And I imagine we're going to get some awesome human reactions that they've had there. We have our 3 guests coming up again at the top of the hour from our partner feed in Chile, from the Nashville Zoo, who was in the totality path for the 2017 Total Solar Eclipse. And then also from Harvard University, our seasoned eclipse chaser. So keep your eye on our feeds on slooh.com. Ask us questions there. And we will be happy to answer some questions that you have. And make sure you're snapping all of your pictures, as you'll need those for when our first quest launches in just a couple weeks, which will be referencing the South American total eclipse, so that you can create beautiful time lapses of this and show us exactly what you've seen and how you've experienced it. Also, if maybe you're at a remote viewing party, you don't have to be in person to be at an eclipse viewing party. You could be at a remote one. Maybe some of you have gotten together to watch this. Maybe your school is watching this together live. If you are, give us a shout out. Let us know where you're watching from and who you're watching with. We are watching. We're paying attention. I will let me look at the chat box now, and we are actually headed back to our partners, the OBS Tech hosting at the Observatorio El Salze. They're doing a replay of Totality so that you can watch it. So let's go back to that feed, and I am going to look at our let's see, our chat box and see who's here. Say hi. Let us know. Are you watching with your school? Oh, solar eclipses make me cry every time. Yes, me too. We also have, we're getting a replay now from the PUC, from our observatory partners at the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, the PUC, are giving us a replay. Thank you. Let's see who else is saying hi, and if we have any questions. South Carolina? Let's see. We have a couple others watching from South America. I wonder how the weather was in Argentina. If you were in Argentina, let us know how the weather was for you. Were you able to see it? We'll also be sharing some of the best images captured from this on our website. So make sure that you share them with us so that we can share them with the world and show them what you've gotten. If you are the next Dr. Mike Shaw, the next astrophotographer, and you can join, remember, his Nightscapes Club if you want any help on that. But make sure you share your moments of totality with us. We will break real quick now, and we'll be back in just a minute with Rob Marciano from ABC News. Welcome back to Slooh, where we just watched Totality, the total phase of today's total solar eclipse in South America. We are now going to be joined by ABC's Rob Marciano for a live report from Chile.
Back, you guys. Move back.
Move that bottle and let her sit down.
Wow, that was just amazing. Save that thought. Hold that thought.
Like I'm in dreamland right now.
This is not live, right?
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah. And you guys actually may be on my world news piece.
All right.
From what we said yesterday.
You guys are fine right there. Yeah. Just turn this way to look at.
Hi again, everybody. We are post eclipse here, or at least the totality of it here at the in the Elqui Valley. Behind us right now, the solar eclipse party taking pictures. You know, it's a celebratory moment here. For the folks that travel from all across the world, most of this group is from the States, and with Sky Telescope magazine. So everybody's smiling from ear to ear. Now, we've had enough Americans that got hooked. We have a number of Americans that have brought their children here. Akik, Barik, he saw the one in America 2017. How does this one compare?
Each eclipse has been different. The first one I saw was very spiritual, amazing, and this one also amazing, but very different than the first one. I mean, when I saw the corona for this one, it just really looked different than the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was right between the valley of Elqui,
Cool, huh?
it was really cool.
You brought your boys with you. Your first time. What's your experience?
Second time. You hear all these stories about people reacting different ways. They're crying, they're jumping around. There are so many different reactions, and you're like, how can you see this actually happening? And how could someone actually have that reaction? But actually seeing this and actually seeing the solar eclipse occur, you can understand why people would react like this.
A lot of raw emotion. Like I almost feel like crying.
Right?
Now. Yeah.
Dylan, did you cry? No, you didn't cry.
No.
But what did you feel?
But it was amazing. Like I've never seen anything like this because each solar eclipse is different. The corona and everything, and then seeing Bailey's beads and the diamond ring effect was truly amazing.
I love the way you guys talk. All right, come on over here, Carolyn. Right?
Yes.
Yes, Carolyn. We got a first timer, guys. First timer.
It won't be your last.
I'm surprised you're smiling so much. Come on, how awesome was it? Tell me what you're feeling.
It was pretty awesome. So few things in this world
live up to the hype.
live up to the hype, and this absolutely lived up to the hype. It was pretty amazing.
What's your favorite part?
The light and the silence and sort of the reaction of being here with all these people, it was really special.
There was some
really
hooting,
special.
there was some hollering. The birds seemed a little bit confused.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. The light, otherworldly. It lived up to the hype. It was very cool.
Did you look around? I mean, I saw a few stars. It got that dark where you could see some stars.
It did, absolutely. I counted 3, and 2 minutes seemed like it was going to last forever, and it was gone very quickly.
Pretty incredible. And so, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you going to the next one, or are you going to at least are you hooked?
I think I am.
Right?
Actually, yeah, I think I am.
Fantastic. So you live in Austin.
I do.
So you don't have to travel anywhere for the next one.
I don't. That's right. You can come.
There we go.
There you go.
Congratulations. So awesome. So psyched for you. And have a great trip in Chile the rest of your time here.
Thank you.
How about that? Ear to ear, right? That's how it goes. That's how it goes for your first time. Actually, that's how it goes for your second time. That's what I'm feeling right now. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you on the next one. Toss it back to Paige in the studio.
Welcome back. Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you, ABC News, for sharing this moment with us. This was so exciting. We were so fortunate to be able to feel like we were there live with you at your eclipse viewing party in Chile. Many of us wish we were, but nonetheless, we saw a remarkable moment of totality remotely from our observatory partners that are stationed down in Chile right now. We have a replay for you of totality from the Observatorio El Sauce. Let's pull that up right now so you can watch as the moon fully eclipses the sun. We're seeing the very last crescent phase of the sun, and then the moon will fully eclipse it. We'll see the coronal layer of the sunlight, the diamond ring and Bailey's beads, and then we'll see the moon start to uncover the sun as the sun comes back. Now, if you were watching in the path of totality, what you would notice is not just the phenomena in front of your face as the moon covers the sun and you see this spectacular view, but you would also see the sky get dark. Birds start to chirp, bugs start to chirp, animals think it's nighttime and get ready for bed. Humans get quiet. So while the bugs are getting louder as if it were nighttime, humans start to get more quiet. And then the sky is dark. It's as if it were nighttime. I'll never forget my 2017 transcontinental total solar eclipse experience, my very first one. I was in the parking lot of a Panera in South Carolina. I won't lie, really great spot to watch it from. You have your coffee, you have your lunch. It was great. But we are now very fortunate, due to our partners, OBSTech Hosting, to get to watch this replay. So hopefully you are enjoying this with us, and hopefully you got to snap some really spectacular images as we went through this together. So coming up, I'll tell you that in a second. Let's watch this together because we're getting really, really close to totality now. So this is a recap from just about 20 minutes ago when we went through totality. So we're seeing the very, very last of the sun, right? And there's the flash. And now we are in totality. So that flash, if anybody's wondering, is because we have to change the filters really quick. So the observatory sites, they have to basically they have a solar filter on so that they can see the sunlight, and then through the sunlight, because otherwise it would break the cameras and the lenses, and then they flash through take off the filter real quick, so that because you don't need it when you're in totality. In the same way that Dr. Mike Shaw and I were saying, you can take off your glasses, your special eclipse viewing glasses, and you can use your cameras at the moment of totality. Well, we have to do that with the observatory and telescopes. So this is the moment of totality. So you get to see the coronal layer of the sun, which is the outermost layer of the sun's ball of gas, the diamond ring, where it's the last flash of light right before the moon covers the sun. And then also you'll see it again when it comes off the other side. It's called the diamond ring because you can sort of see it here, the head, this little flash of light. And then you can also, around the edge of the sun, it's called Bailey's beads. So little mini diamonds. There's the diamond ring right there. That is the last flash of light, or the first flash of light as the moon starts to move off of the sun's surface, the diamond ring. And then Bailey's beads are little diamonds that show up around the edge of the moon eclipse of the sun. So remember, at slooh.com, be snapping your photos. We are going to be with you for the next hour as we exit totality. We are back in the partial phase, and we will be bringing on very special guests. So in just a couple minutes, we have Dr. Thomas Putzia at the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, the PUC, where we have our Chile nighttime telescopes. And then we will also be bringing on Jim Bartu from the Nashville Zoo, and Owen Gingerich at the Harvard University, who is a seasoned eclipse chaser. So we will go to a quick break right now, and then we'll be back in just a minute with our first guest, Dr. Putzia from the PUC. Welcome back to Slooh, where we are joined by very special guest, Dr. Thomas Putzia at the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. He is our observatory partner. So this is where Slooh's Chile observatories are at the PUC with Dr. Putzia, but he is set up right now actually in the path of totality in Chile. So a little bit of a different location. Dr. Putzia is a professor of astronomy and astrophysics at the Institute of Astrophysics at the PUC. And we are very excited, Thomas, to hear how this went for you. You got a great setup there.
Yeah, it was absolutely spectacular. There was a solar eclipse of a size and smoothness that I've never seen before. So it was just beautiful, just beautiful. We saw the shadow coming. We had the Elqui Valley here in full view. Yeah, the diamond ring was there, and at the end, we saw even a small protuberance at the second egress. So it was just spectacular. Yeah, we were very emotional.
That's amazing. Emotional is a good word for it. That's how we felt here too. Even being remote, you can't help but be overwhelmed by what's actually happening.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I could even see some tears here. People were, uh, grasping the situation or trying to do so.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I have to say myself, I'm a professional, but these things are just touching the core of everyone.
So where exactly are you right now?
So we are at the Mamayuca Observatory. So this behind us, the dome that you can see. Where is the camera? Here, this big dome. Right, that's the Falcon Station. So people are monitoring, basically space trash with it, satellites, and in the background, maybe I can turn myself around here a little bit. You can see the Mamayuca Observatory. Let me actually walk a little bit so you get a better view. So now you may be able to see the dome of the Mamayuca Observatory. You just get out of the way. Right, so somewhere there. Right, that's the dome. And people have massive setups down there of telescopes, right, with all kinds of wavelength filters, coronagraphs, right, spectrographs. So Fred Espinac is here. So it's a great congregation of people.
Awesome. About how many people do you think you have with you?
I think at the moment we're probably of the order of several hundred. I would say of the order of maybe like 400 or 500 people up here.
Wow.
Just on the premises. I mean, there are tons of people coming down the mountain right now. So maybe you can see in the background the dust plumes there from the vehicles that are driving down. Right. So on this range down there, right, there is a road.
We can see them. Yep.
Yes. So people are leaving back home, leaving dust plumes behind. So it's really amazing. We have also special guest here. So there is the Celestron ambassador, Theo Boris. Okay, Theo is observing with us. Theo, say hi.
Hi.
So
Pleasure
we had a good
to
time
meet
here.
you.
Yeah.
Welcome to Slooh.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing your observatory feed with us. How was it? What was your overall impression of totality?
So amazing. Yeah.
Was this your first one?
Or actually, it was my second one because I saw the eclipse in Jackson Hole in 2017.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Wow, you are so lucky. That's so cool.
Yeah, we really had
awesome.
a good
So
time
is that
here.
your setup behind you?
Yes. Actually, yeah. So
Very
I
cool.
live streamed the eclipse to North America. Some of my friends.
Awesome.
So it looks very busy
so what
here.
was everybody? Was it busy? That's what I was going to ask. What was it like? What was everybody yelling and excitement?
Yeah,
was everybody quiet?
was
What happened?
Everybody was so excited.
Yeah, we totally had a good time. Right? We were jumping around, screaming, whistling. yelling, some people were tearing up. It was just spectacular.
That's awesome. So just covering all of the emotions that a human can feel, I guess.
That's right. That's right. Yes. So all the
So
emotions
you're
also before the eclipse, right? Because we got through
right.
anger, confusion, um, right? Happiness to solve problems, and we help each other. You know,
Sure.
to achieve really great, I would say, great live streams, right? In the end, so it was really nice.
Sure. Yeah. No, we feel all of those with you. Trying to get everything set up to capture that perfect moment, which only
Yeah.
lasts for 2 minutes. And so the pressure's on.
Yes. Yes. So now
It's
we're
so
waiting
beautiful.
eagerly the next one, 2020.
December 14th.
Yes. And that's coming right back through Chile again, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Through Pucón.
Lucky again.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna
That's amazing.
have. In fact, we're gonna have 3 eclipses in the next 2 years, right? We have the 2020 on December 14th coming up, and then there will be the 2021 in Antarctica, December 4th. I'm being told. So that's gonna be
That's
exciting
awesome.
too. If we can make it to
Yeah.
Antarctica, it would be spectacular too.
Right. So you're officially eclipse chasers.
Yeah, we're definitely eclipse chasers now. Yeah, as are
Good
many
for
people
you.
here around us. Yeah, the dogs are also excited. Sorry.
I was going to ask if I hear dogs.
Yes.
Did they experience anything weird during totality? Did they behave any differently?
Actually, we didn't hear much of the dogs, but we saw birds flying away. Right, the birds were really confused for a while. That was interesting, right? You see that? Yeah, there was a flock, like really big flock of birds, like just disappearing without any warning. And so we also took temperature measurements throughout the eclipse. So we had a drop from it was like 22, 23 degrees down to 16, 16.5 during the dip of totality. So that was really interesting to see. We actually set up thermometers in the bright sun and in the shade. So yeah, we're gonna read those measurements later on.
Oh, you'll have to let us know about that. So I'm actually curious because some of you are in like jackets and some of you are in short sleeves. So like what is the temperature there?
Well, the temperature now, we can actually go to the thermometer. Just read it off right away. All right, so we have the GoPro that is looking at it constantly. I don't know if you can see the values. 17.2 in the shade and 20.6 in the sun at the moment.
And what do you think it dropped about during totality? Like 10?
I would say it dropped by easily 5 degrees, I would say. Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah,
Right?
it was really cool.
Yeah, you could really feel it. It was like we had all chills. It was really amazing.
That is so cool.
Yes.
That is so cool. I got to see the 2017 eclipse live, and I remember experiencing all of this too, but it was almost 2 years ago. So I'm like, things are coming back to me as you say it now. Like I do remember it getting colder and yeah.
Yeah, we were like
that's so amazing.
packed up in the morning, right? We came up at like it was 7, 8 o'clock. Right? It was really freezing, and we were packed up in jackets and thick sweaters and scarves and almost gloves,
and
right?
Then it got super warm.
And then it got super warm. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And then it dropped, right? It was really amazing.
Wow, that is so cool. So was there any other like what was your favorite? You said you saw the diamond ring. Did you see Bailey's beads at all? What was your favorite like one particular part?
Well, you start.
Well, I think Bailey's bead also because I actually sent a drone up like 1,000 feet in the air and we got really cool footage.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we had
That's
several
awesome.
drones, but yeah, Theo managed to place it in the air. It was really cool.
That is so cool. You will have to share that with us if you're able. We will love to see that footage. That is such a good idea.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I think
You can
my
too,
favorite
like,
part.
also get all of the human reaction with that as well. Like, that's
Right.
such a neat idea.
Yeah, that was really lovely.
Awesome.
Yeah, towards the end, I think the end of Totality, it looked like, we have to check really the high resolution footage, but it looked like there was a big fat protuberance lurking behind the lunar disk right before the diamond ring came back.
Mhm.
That you could see. I mean, I could see red, and many people around me could
Yeah.
see red before this thing stopped, and it
Right.
was just spectacular. I haven't seen like something like this before in my life, so it's
So
beautiful.
did you have like eclipse glasses on, or were you looking through like your telescope filter?
Yeah, so we had both filters, right? Solar filters on the tubes of the telescopes, and all of us had basically, at least 2 eclipse glasses, I would say, in the end.
Right.
Yeah, we were well equipped in terms of filtering.
Good. And then did everyone take them off at Totality and you get to see it with your bare eyes? Awesome.
Yeah, all the filters came off, all the glasses
Yeah.
came off, and people saw the shadow coming, and it was just spectacular. It was like big emotional, like a
Sure.
big emotional high. Yeah,
It is very surreal. It is.
yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us. This was really incredible, and we're so glad that we were able to talk to you about your experience after. And thank you for sharing your feed with us. I mean, it
No
was
problem.
amazing to be able to watch with you. Could you give us one more spin around where you are so we can just take
Sure.
in the views again? They're breathtaking.
Sure. Yes. So this is the Falcon Station. There's our crowd in the background. This is our
Hello,
setup.
everybody.
Yeah, everyone say hi to the Slooh.
Everyone say
So that's our gang here, and that's the beginning here of. That's the beginning of the Alki Valley down there. Right, there's the Mamayuka Dome, and so just above Theo's head, there's the Alki Valley, and you can actually see on. Let me see where my finger is now. Here, I have a little delay. So over there,
Uh-huh.
can you see on top of this peak? That's the Cerro Tololo Observatory.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and on.
Very cool.
Let me see. Can we find the other one? I think LSST. Careful with the.
Mhm.
See? Come down here. Let's walk too. Oh, we have to get back. Come. I have the director of Mamayuka Observatory.
Hi, pleasure to meet you. Welcome to Slooh.
2 weeks I'm a happy guy. Let's come back first. So, Pablo Lara is a Slooh live. Yes.
Acá me estoy transmitiendo.
Yeah, no, it's Slooh live. Yeah. Okay, we have to get back to the Wi-Fi signal. All right, let me introduce to you Pablo Lara. Okay, Pablo is director of Mamayuka Observatory. He kindly invited us
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
to be here and observe
But
here.
the camera here is blocking the.
That's right. Yeah, we can't see you because we have our screen on top of your feed.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Well, thank you for sharing your site with them so that we were able to share their partner observatory feed and watch with you live. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for your interest and thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thomas, thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it. It was awesome. And we look forward to seeing you at slooh.com. We'll send you a membership. We'd love to have you in our community, and everybody can just awe in what you're doing right now. It's so beautiful there. Totality or not, you are in a gorgeous area.
Yes, there is.
Thank you
Absolutely
again.
spectacular. Yes. Yeah, thanks, guys. Okay, see you at the next one.
See you at the next one. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, we are going to go to a quick break and we'll be back at just another minute or two with Jim Bartu at the Nashville Zoo in Tennessee, telling us about what happens, as we heard Thomas telling us, with animals during totality. So we'll be back just after a quick break.
Nine,
8,
7,
6,
5, 4,
3,
2,
1.
Good Lord, ride all the way. 10,
9,
8,
7,
6,
5, 4,
3,
2,
1.
All right, Slooh viewers, welcome back. We are joined by a very special guest, Jim Bartu at the Nashville Zoo in Grassmere. And I don't think I need to say anything else because there is a giraffe behind you, which is just awesome.
That's good to know.
Yeah, make sure you don't get too close.
I won't.
Jim, so thank you for joining us.
Sure.
We were really excited to hear from you. Were with us for the 2017 Total Solar Eclipse, and your zoo is actually in the path of totality for that, right?
It was awesome.
Was it? So we want to know what happens. Like, what we just actually heard from Dr. Putzia in Chile, who was in sort of like the mountains desert there, but he said even the few birds that were around started behaving erratically. Tell us what you know. What happens?
Yeah, birds in particular were the ones that we saw the most effect out of. We have a lorikeet exhibit that you can walk into. These are Australian parrots. They became very quiet during totality. The keepers there noticed that they would not fly. They kind of all grouped together and got very quiet. They did notice fireflies that started to come out during that time. And then after totality, they started chirping up a storm again. What we did notice is inside that exhibit, we have a plantain eater, which is a different type of bird. It actually started flying around during totality. We have some birds that are in our shows, so they're handled a lot, and they're brought out during the day, and then they're brought in at night. And so these birds were expecting to come in. As it reached totality, they started making a lot of noise because they were thinking, hey, you've forgotten me. It's time to go in. It's time to take me in at night, because they thought it was nighttime. And then when the sun came back out again, they relaxed a little bit. Our flamingos came out of the water and started clumping together and moving around in groups. And then were very tightly packed and stayed very quiet, but moving around at night. And then when the sun came out, they dispersed again. So birds in particular, we saw quite a bit of change in. Other animals, not so much.
Wow, that's so interesting. So is there a difference, do you think, between like, so these animals, some of them are captive, some of them are wild animals. Like, is there a big difference between that?
It's possible. You know, captive animals are on a routine every day. So a lot of these animals, when it gets to be a certain time of day, they know it's time to go in. So they'll start gathering towards the area where they're brought in at night. And so we believe that some of that has to do with the light level that they're used to. So when it gets to be a certain time of day and that light level's there, they think it's time for me to go in. So as you go through that eclipse, that simulates that light level. And we think that might have something to do with some of the reactions that we saw. It's really hard to tell. We had 7,000 people in the park that day. As we reached totality,
7,000.
Yeah, 7,000 people. Excuse me, 7,000 people. And as we reached totality, everybody in the park began to cheer and yell and scream. That had an effect on the animals as well. So some of it, it was hard for us to tell whether it was the crowds or the light levels that were having an effect. Giraffes, the giraffes that were right behind me were fine through the entire totality. But then as the light levels came up again and everybody got quiet and went on their way, that's when the giraffes started running around in circles around this entire exhibit behind me. So it was amazing to watch. We have that on our website. We actually have a blog post that we wrote about all the findings that we had. You can Google or you can find our website at nashvillezoo.org, and then you'll have to search for Total Eclipse, and you can find the blog post in the search from there. And we have some video that's on there that's really interesting to see, as well as kind of a synopsis about what we found.
Wow, that's great. I'm definitely going to take a look at that. That is so cool about the giraffes too. I wouldn't have expected that.
I know, really strange.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess like you said, reacting to all the people being, well, just so populous, but also so loud and, you know, being so congregated and then dispersing like that would sort of set the animals off. But with the whole like night and darkness thing, it makes me think of like daylight savings time, and you know how I know like at least little children sort of their whole biological clock gets sort of confused, the whole rhythm.
It does, yeah. And the animals are like that too. Yeah, we go to during our winter hours, we go to a 9 to 4 schedule. So at 4 o'clock we end the day. So 3:30, 3:45, these animals start making their way to the door where they're going to go inside and get their food at night, and they get used to that. And then when we switch to the 9 to 6 p.m. schedule, right around 3:45, they start making their way to the door, and that happens, you know, 3 or 4 different times, and they realize, wait a minute, I'm not getting fed anymore. So they adjust to that. So they adjust very quickly, but they do tend to get a little confused during that time difference.
Right, I can imagine. I mean, I do too, and I know it's coming.
I know. I'm hungry now.
So did you also, I remember you mentioning you found a difference a little bit between animals that are predatory versus animals that are prey, and the way they're like intrinsically trained to behave, and how that might affect their awareness around this. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, we did. Deep down in the animal's being is the fact that they're either predator or they're prey, right? They're either eating something or something is eating them. So animals that tend to be prey in a natural environment, these are hoof stock, gazelles, zebra, ostrich, antelope, zebra, birds, these kind of things. Those type of animals tend to be a little more nervous at the changing of conditions because they think something's going to change and they might be endangered with it. Animals that are at the top of the food chain, lions, cheetahs, clouded leopards, these type of animals, tigers that we have out here, those animals are less concerned about those kind of changes, and you don't often see those kind of effects when those changes take place. So as it gets dark outside, they just think, okay, it's getting dark outside, but I'm okay. I'm the baddest thing in the jungle, so I'm not really that worried about it. So that's kind of what we think is happening, and why we didn't see a lot of that aspect. Of course, it could also be that a lot of these animals are cats, and well, cats are cats, and they just don't care really about anything.
That's funny. I have two of my own domestic cats, and
that's
totally
right.
agree. They
so you know exactly the way it is. Yeah, they're like, oh,
yeah,
okay, the sun's behind the moon, big deal. Where's my food?
right. Exactly. Right. Yep. They only care about what they want and when they want it. That's really interesting. And, you think about that too with the captive versus wild and the prey versus predator, and like how, maybe all those people being in there and the people behaving differently could set off a animal that's typically prey. They're more alert, and now they're not only responding to the darkness and the other animal's behavior, they're responding to this human behavior because these humans are acting different.
Right. I mean, all the shouting, it's getting dark, people are shouting, they're cheering, they're yelling. I mean, I would probably freak out in that environment if I didn't know what was going on.
Right. So where during the 2017 eclipse, were you in the zoo? Were you at a specific exhibit that you want to tell us about? Were you at the giraffes?
I was not at an animal exhibit. I was in our festival field. We had this giant field where we had probably 4,000 people standing and just watching the eclipse. And so I was in the field because I was making announcements as we got close to totality, letting people know, be sure you look for this. There's a diamond ring aspect that we might be able to see. There's this crawling on the ground. I forget what they call it, where you see the waves on the ground. Right after totality. We saw that right after totality, and we had this big white tarp on the ground where people could come up and watch this waving of shadows on the ground that was really peculiar. So we were able to see that as well. I forget what they call it, but it was something that is rarely seen, and so we wanted to point out that we had this there in case we were lucky enough to see it, and we did get to see it. I actually caught some video of it.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that on your blog post? Could we find that?
I don't think we put it up on our blog post, but I'd be happy to email it to you, Doctor.
Awesome. We would love to see that.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Jim, for joining us. This was so exciting. One of the highlights of the day, for sure. I mean, this is just the coolest. Like, it's an aspect you don't think about, right? You're so focused on or at least for us astronomers, we're so focused on what's actually happening in space that we forget to think about what's happening right here on Earth. So thank you for sharing this with us.
Oh, I'm happy to do it. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So we are going to take one more quick break, and then we will be back with Owen Gingrich. So we are watching sunset in the PUC feed. So a shout out to our partner observatory at the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, PUC, where we just had guest Dr. Thomas Puzia on with us, sharing with him our site. And then we also had amazing feeds and totality from the Observatorio El Sauce from our partners at ObsTech Hosting. We are watching sunset right now in the PUC feed. You can see the sun setting below the horizon, We are watching it disappear. I hope you're watching this with us right now. Snap your images, watch it set behind the horizon right there. And it's still partial. It's still a partial phase that's setting. This is a view you'll never get again. It's pointy. Look at the sun. It's pointy as it's setting because we're still seeing a partial phase setting. Don't miss this. Pay attention. There it is. There it goes. There's the last, we're about to get the last flash of light. Did I tell you that flash was coming, or did I tell you that flash was coming? We just watched the sunset in Chile from our partners at the PUC, the Mamayuca Observatory, where we just had Dr. Puzia on sharing with us. So they just experienced sunset. So I guess they're going to have a dark ride back down the mountain. But we are still in the partial phase. And so as somebody said on the chat box, this is known as the Pac-Man phase. So we like that one, the Pac-Man phase, which I guess could maybe speak a little bit to the zoo animals we were just hearing from Jim Bartu about. Thank you so much again to Jim Bartu for joining us from the Nashville Zoo. That was really exciting. You can find all of their results and data on their website, on their blog post. So we will go away for just another like 30 seconds, and we'll be right back with Professor Owen Gingrich from Harvard University, an experienced eclipse chaser. Back in just a second. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Slooh. We are joined live now by special guest, Professor Owen Gingrich at Harvard University. Owen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, it's an exciting day for you because you're much closer to the eclipse with the images pouring in. Here
Yes.
It's an ordinary day.
Well, you get to join us in watching.
It's fun to reminisce about some of the many eclipses I have been fortunate to see.
Absolutely. You were telling me that you've seen, 15 solar eclipses?
15, I'm not counting those that got clouded out.
Wow.
It's 15.
That's an amazing number. I've seen
Clouded
one in person.
That was the one 2 years ago. The one
Yes.
that went sea to shining sea.
Yep.
We were told that the farthest you could go in the west, the weather would get better and better. And so we were in a room facing the ocean, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, our host pounded on the door saying, if you want to be sure to see the eclipse, leave now. We were kind of sleepy, but we pulled ourselves together and were able to drive out of the coastal fog. It lasted quite a ways, but it didn't take much driving, maybe half an hour, to get out from under that fog blanket. And then we saw that eclipse wonderfully. I hope you liked it.
Wow.
You said you saw it.
I did see it. Yes. I was in South Carolina for it. And it was the most incredible experience of my life. So I was fortunate to see one, but you've seen 15, not including any that you were clouded out for. So how long have you been eclipse chasing for? What started this? Have you just always loved space and been excited?
I was a graduate student here at Harvard Observatory, and I had the possibility of going to one in Ceylon, as it was called in those days. And that was in 1955. So that was the first total eclipse I saw.
Wow. And where was that again?
We're starting to calculate. It isn't called Ceylon anymore. That was its name. It's the little island at the bottom tip of India. And at that particular time, it was the hub of one of the airlines. And the airline sent us to Ceylon, ended the trip, and we got, not perfect weather. So we didn't get any staggering results. But we had the chance to see one of the longest eclipses of the 20th century. And there won't be one as long as that in the 21st century.
Wow. So would you say that was your favorite one you've ever attended?
No, because as managing the eclipse, I had my back to the sun. So in an eclipse, I saw less than 1 minute.
Oh no!
So some of the others were more favorite than that.
Right.
And I figured I would like to go to a lot of eclipses, but I don't want to go with baggage and equipment that keeps you from looking at the sun.
Right. We just got to see one of our observatory partners in Chile right now and all the equipment that they have set up. And I can only imagine how hard it is to get that all ready and then to be able to try to enjoy the actual eclipse and not get bogged down in all the tech. Must be very difficult.
I've come to talk with you about seeing eclipses, and one of the reasons for seeing eclipses is for going to help other visitors who are keen about traveling. It's a romantic thing to do to go chasing an eclipse on the other side of the world. And I've been able to talk about eclipses to a lot of interesting people. And here I am again. I hope there are interesting people signing in to listen to you and your guests.
I would imagine that there are. We've gotten a shout out from quite a few people. Someone just told us that their 5 and 9-year-old boys just made it home from summer school to be able to watch with us. They live in New Mexico. We have a ton of interesting people watching, and we're so grateful for all of them. I imagine meeting everybody in person is very exciting too.
One of the interesting venues for an eclipse was on the UE2, the big luxury liner. A friend of mine had connection with Cunard, and he was interested in seeing this eclipse for a phase in the late stages of the eclipse, just before the totality begins. You can see sometimes a very interesting shadow pattern. And he had in the family some connection with Cunard, and he looked at the boat's schedule and realized that if they left the One City a day earlier, they could get exactly to the path of the eclipse. Why not make it an eclipse cruise? So
right.
a lot of fun. I thought maybe he was going to invite somebody else from a distance. And I said, but if that person stops talking to you, you won't notice because they're from way across the country. Whereas if you don't invite me, you're going to hear a lot about it. And so, so we went on the QE2, and I was in fact on the bridge during the totality and the lead up.
Wow.
And something really crazy, the electronic finding of position was out. They didn't have the normal navigation equipment working at that time. And so the navigator was getting us to the site of totality by taking sight of the little islands along the way. It was way off the path, commercial path. And so the navigator was determined to get us right smack bang in the middle path. The only problem was we could look out ahead of the ship and see this huge cloud bank, which we were zooming right toward. And the navigator was not to be moved about. He wanted to demonstrate that without just anything other than a sextant, he could get us to the right smack in the middle of the eclipse. Fortunately, the captain was there because I said, if we keep going, we're going to hit that cloud bank and we're not going to see anything. And so the captain did to stop right on that spot. So that was one of the memorable trips. The UE2 was a wonderful cruise ship, and to be on the bridge with the captain of the ship during the eclipse was pretty classy.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is a very, very fortunate experience. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Have I got time to tell you another one?
Sure, we'll take one more.
This was a relatively recent one, which was in the Cook Islands. I suspect that most people listening will know Slooh, where the Cook Islands are. They're in the Pacific, and they're north of Tahiti. Most people can make a guess, at least, as to where Tahiti is. And there was another cloud situation where we had the ship, we were headed pretty well for the central line of the eclipse. Mm-hmm. But there was also a big cloud headed to the same place. And so I was on the bridge helping the captain decide what to do. And it looked like we'd better turn the ship around and head the other direction. And that's what we did. But by and by, we became very nervous about that decision. We were overshooting this place. I said, we've got to stop and turn around again and go back part of the way. And the captain ordered the ship to turn around, and we went back and got this wonderful big opening in the cloud. And we saw the eclipse perfectly. And at the end, the captain, who was foreign, didn't speak English very well, spoke to me. He said, I'm beginning to like you.
That's funny. Wow. So you've had 2 experiences on ships for these.
More than that. The advantage.
More than that.
Is you can sail to an empty spot on the cloudy sky.
Right. Wow. Those are really amazing stories. Thank you, Owen, for sharing these with us. We really appreciate having you here, and hopefully you get to see more. Maybe, the one in 2024, perhaps. So thank you for joining us.
Looking at the eclipse picture, which
Yep.
the same one that you are.
We are ending the partial phase right now in Chile. This is our OBSTEC hosting at the Observatory El Sauce in Chile. We are just wrapping up the partial phase, and we are almost fully out of the eclipse. So everybody, you should snap your final images now.
Thanks for inviting.
Well, thank you for joining us, Owen. We appreciate it very, very much. And we look forward to seeing you for the next total solar eclipse. Thank you again. Everyone, we have just wrapped up the partial phase. This is the end of the 2019 South American total solar eclipse. And we will be back after just a short break to recap the event and watch a recap of Totality. And if you're paying attention right now, you can see that we know we're getting near sunset because the sun is starting to take on a more oval shape with how low it is to the horizon. So that's how we know that we're starting to hit sunset. So come back in just a few seconds and we'll be here with some viewer comments and questions and a recap of Totality. Back to Slooh. We are just recapping the end of what was an amazing couple hours of the 2019 South American total solar eclipse. So we want to give major shout outs right now. I'm going to list everybody that was here with us. We had guests from ABC News senior meteorologist Rob Marciano, who was at an eclipse chasing party. We had astrophotographer and author Dr. Mike Shaw, who regaled us with how to photograph these eclipses. You can follow along in his Nightscapes Club at slooh.com. We also had Dr. Mariana Oriana from the National University of Rio Negro in Argentina, who we hope you had some clear skies and the clouds cleared for you, Mariana. We really have our fingers crossed. We had our observatory partner from the Catholic University of Chile, Dr. Thomas Puzia, joined us and gave us beautiful views of where they were watching from in Chile and told us all about how the experience went for him and everybody there. We were joined, really fun, gym bar too, at the Nashville Zoo at Grassmere in Tennessee with analysis on how animals behaved from the total solar eclipse in 2017 because they were in totality. And so they were able to shed some more light on what Dr. Puzia was telling us about how the birds behaved. And we got to see giraffes. Who would have thought a giraffe on Slooh? It might be a first. So yeah, that was actually one of the stop-off points during Slooh's transcontinental eclipse expedition in 2017. So when we took the Airstream across the country, and Paul Cox says it was his favorite stop. He got to do a live walkthrough of the zoo and hear all about the animal monitoring project. So thank you, Jim. And last but not least, thank you to Owen Gingrich, professor at Harvard University and eclipse chaser, 16 total solar eclipses, not including the ones that he was clouded out on, and also many of them on a boat, which I had made the joke earlier about how there's only this 90-mile stretch of land that you could see it on in South America today, unless you're on a boat. And here we go. We just met our ship eclipse chaser, Owen Gingrich, everybody. And then, of course, Theo Boris, who was with Thomas Putzia in Chile. What a fun guest. That was a last-minute addition, and we were so happy to have him and to hear about his experience with his first total solar eclipse, or second total solar eclipse, because he was at the one in 2017. This is his second one, which is really amazing. I've only seen one live, I should say, in person. This is live. But also, let's big shout out to observatory partners. So we had the Liceo Observatory in Chile, which is the European Southern Observatory. We had the Observatorio El Salze from our friends at OBSTEC hosting. Thank you so much. The Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, the PUC, where Thomas Putzia was from, and of course, where our Chilean telescopes rest for their nighttime viewing, which you can expect to see them on slooh.com at night. We also had the Aura Observatory in Cerro Tololo, which Thomas had actually pointed out in the background, which was right behind him. So thank you to everybody for sharing your feeds with us. We really appreciate it. We have the sun setting in El Salze right now. If the studio could pull that back up, we could watch the sunset. And just a couple tips and tricks what's coming up at slooh.com. If you've been watching this whole time, we've been telling you to snap your images on our video viewer just above the camera feed, because in a few weeks, we will be launching our first ever quest interactive activity on slooh.com, where you can use your images to learn things about the night sky. And the first one, as you guessed it, is Total Solar Eclipse 2019. So this is sunset in El Salze right now. So we are currently watching the sunset here. We're watching the sun go below the horizon. Notice the oval shape that it's been taking on, because as it lowers over the horizon, the way the light is stretched out as it comes through all of the atmosphere and it bends around the Earth, we're seeing this oval shape. That's how we knew it was setting before we actually saw the horizon. We're about to watch it disappear fully behind the horizon right now. So yeah, so we have the quest coming up. Keep your eyes peeled for those. We have the clubs that are brand new. I keep talking about Mike Shaw's Nightscapes Club, and he'll actually be live tonight in just 3 hours for another solo audio cast about photographing the night sky. But then also I have a club called Astronomers Wanted, and I do a weekly solo live cast. Paul Cox has a club called Ex Machina. Helen Avery has a club called Astronomy for the Soul. So all of these clubs you can join, and you can listen to our solo audio casts weekly as we talk to you about your favorite hobbies to do with astronomy. And then last but not least, July 16th, so 2 weeks from today, is the full buck moon partial lunar eclipse. We will be live covering that as well. We're all about the eclipses this year. We have a partial lunar eclipse coming up in 2 weeks. So thank you to everybody that participated, our special guests, our observatory partners. A huge shout out to everybody in our studio at home that helped to make this a reality and is the reason that you're listening to me right now. And thank you so much. And thank you to all of our viewers and watchers for joining Slooh, for being members, for shouting out to us. I'm looking through the chat box now, and I can't even get to a question because everybody's saying, great show, thank you. And we just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of this with us. It is a community, and we're grateful to have you. So kudos to everybody involved. We will see you, as Thomas and Owen both said, we'll see you for the next eclipse, the next total solar eclipse, and many more celestial events in between. As always, yours truly at Slooh, clear skies. Have a good night.